How old is he?
I think he was from kid.
No, we're recording here. Is that good enough?
We're recording.
Okay. Well, the most important council member just showed up, so now we can go ahead and get started. We'll call the meeting to order for November 9th, 2023. As you can tell, if you're stuck with me, the mayor is preoccupied with something else this evening. He sent me a text a couple hours ago. So let's get started with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this first item will be the consent agenda. We'll take a look at approve the check register, and then also the approval of minutes for October 12th and October 26th. For this, so you flip the form. I reviewed it. There's a couple of big items, but they all look proper to me. Anybody on the council?
So the water, the big item for 215,000, is that the one that's, you're doing on Willow Way?
Yeah.
That you're bugging me daily about? No, they're really good. They're not bad anymore.
I thought we had the mailbox thing resolved.
You have it all resolved. It was just 2 days, so we're good. Okay. Then I'll make a motion to pass and pay the check register for 9/11/2023.
The minutes
Oh,
also,
and the minutes for the 2 minutes. I forgot the dates.
for the October 12th and October 26th.
October 12th and 26th, 2023.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item is the public comment section. So we will open that up to anybody that wishes to speak on anything other than what's on the agenda. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Brad Murdoch. Thank you for hearing me. Tonight, I'd like to propose that some business be done by the council, looking into the legalities involved. How can we address as a community the speeding that goes on in our two main drags in our neighborhoods? The sheriff's department has placed a speed sign out here, and routinely in the morning when I'm walking the dog, I'm sorry to say that even a sheriff's vehicle today, the red and blue lights were flashing and they went right on through. So I think we need to look into the legality of some sort of consequence for our actions. I don't speed in my neighborhood. I take it very seriously, because what will it take to get people to slow down? And that would be the question that I would sincerely like to see addressed. Thank you. Wiki.
Yeah,
Yes,
just go ahead.
just in case. There's,
Name's Riley Atkinson, 575 West Lambert Lane. You brought up a very good point. I'll back it. I walk my dog every single day on the outskirts of your city, which is Lambert Lane, and there have been multiple times where I, my wife, and my dog have almost been hit. I've talked to my family member who lives on that lane, who is a highway patrolman, and he says too that he'll even sit out there after his shift ends just to try to slow people down, but it's really not doing much. I know that's kind of on the edge of your city limits, but that's another place that gets very speedy, especially during the high times of day. So I just wanted to throw that in as well. So it's not just the main, it's all around.
Well, I definitely know it's all around because I live on Foothill.
Yeah.
You went to my house when you were a little kid, so, and I'm not sure as a city, we can do much. I mean, that would have to come from the county, but we can definitely reach out to the county, and especially with Jeremy being our mayor, you know, I mean, he can get more patrols. As soon as we get bigger and more taxes, which I know none of us want, then we can get our own cops and stuff in here too, and that's a double-edged sword. We need it, we don't want it, but.
I just wanted to show support and just.
Yes, yes, definitely. And we've also talked about speed bumps, so that you can't plow with speed bumps, and and we get too much snow to have to, you know, ruin the snowplow trucks and the plows and stuff like that, but we will definitely keep that, and it's always on the top of our mind, but now that it's reiterated to us, we will definitely see what else we can do and let y'all know. And what was your address?
443,
Oh, okay.
State Route, State
All
Route
right.
35.
okay, anybody else? Okay, at that point then, we will close the public comment portion for this evening and move on to the next item, public hearings. The first item up is the Atkinson Acres minor subdivision. Wow.
What do you call the name around here?
I have not had
That's
anything. No, that's fine. I just can't, I was tongue tied there.
Got a staff report, government.
Yes, I think I need a staff report from Katie.
All right, no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch screens here and show you the location of the property we're talking about. It's the one that's outlined in red, right here off of Lambert Lane. And this is the intersection of 32 and Lambert Lane. Okay, so Dolores Atkinson Mansell owns the parcel, FT 2041A. It's a 9-acre parcel, and it's in the RH and AG1 zones, kind of like a split zoning. Her nephew, Riley Atkinson, would like to subdivide the property so that he can purchase 2 acres with frontage on Lambert Lane. So he'd like to purchase some of the land up here. I'll show you the plot map in a minute, and this is on residential half. So I'm gonna flip this slide down to plat now, actually. We can zoom in on anything you want to later, but here's the parcel, here's the 2 acres, and you can use this as a reference. So lot 1 is this one up here by the road. It will be buildable after water shares are turned in, utilities are connected to the property or bonded for, and the plat is recorded. The remainder parcel, which is all the rest of it, the 7 acres remaining, will continue to be used for agricultural purposes at this time. It will not be buildable until all the city's building requirements are met. The remainder parcel was platted with 100 feet of frontage on Lambert Lane, so that it meets the minimum frontage requirement for the residential half zone and can be built on later without installation of a private or public road. The remainder parcel may also be further subdivided later if the property owner elects to build a road from the frontage on Lambert Lane to the back of the parcel. So they've got some options there by leaving 100 feet of frontage on Lambert. There are 2 irrigation ditches that run through the property. You can see those here and here. They're both identified on the plat with a 10-foot maintenance easement. There's also an access easement on the remainder parcel in favor of lot 1. So that is here near the frontage. That's this, right up here. It allows lot 1 to have access, even if a different owner owns the remainder parcel, they'll always be able to access lot 1 this way. Okay, the Francis City Development Code provides a simplified process for minor subdivisions. Those are subdivisions of 4 lots or less. The Planning Commission may recommend that the preliminary plan be accepted by the City Council as the final plat if it meets all the requirements of the final plat. So instead of having to go through 2 rounds of this, they can go through 1 if they're meeting all the requirements. So I reviewed their preliminary plan, and all of the revisions we gave them were incorporated into the updated plat that you see here. The easements were correctly designated, and the developer has met all the preliminary and final plat requirements, with only 1 exception, which is to add a street number to the address table once it's provided by the county, and we will get that later. I'm not worried about that. So the Planning Commission reviewed this item on November 2nd, last week, and they're forwarding it to the City Council with unanimous positive recommendation. They recommend that the preliminary plan be accepted by the City Council as the final plat. So my recommendation is to resolve any questions or concerns with the applicant and approve the subdivision, accepting the preliminary plan as the final plat. This is a public hearing, so we'll need to have a public comment period. That's it for me.
Okay, well, based on that, we'll open up the public comment period. To anybody who wishes to speak.
I'll speak again. So, Riley Atkinson, 575 West Lambert Lane. The house that you saw on the Google map that was a little bit more west is my grandma Janet's, and that's where I currently reside and grew up. Now, me and my wife, we really want to live in Francis City. I have been raised here, like I said. Our family has owned that land for 7 generations, and so I would ask that you approve this so that me and my wife may continue on living on the family acres, on the family farm, and continue to do the same thing that's always been done there. Just like in the planning, I have asked Katie multiple times, as well as the Planning Commission, if there are any, as you guys review this and decide to move forward, a couple of questions that we still have. We need to know if you guys are willing to accept your shingle water shares. And then the other one, just the bond, which is what we went over with Katie and the Planning Commission, that we would put in the bond in order to be able to get the property to our name, hopefully soon, before the end of the year, if not in the next couple of weeks. And so, yeah, I appreciate your consideration and vote positive for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is probably just a question more for Katie and Riley. I know Riley has a sister and a couple brothers. Would it be easier right now to subdivide it all into those lots rather than if they want to build in 10 years, you know, or just wait and have them come in and fight their own fight? I don't know. And maybe they never want to live here. I don't know, but
So
like we did with that one up there, you know, the Snyder's.
Yeah, so they could have done that. They could do more lots if they wanted to and stuff for that. But every time you subdivide into a lot, you have to put in the infrastructure for that lot. So if they.
Oh, okay, so they can't wait for
water,
this.
sewer,
Okay.
roads, trails, all of that has to
Oh,
be
okay.
in. Yeah, so
All
I
right.
think they're just.
I
wanting
wasn't
to do
sure
it
on
right now.
if they could just have it ready and then do it.
No, it's not,
Okay.
not quite that easy.
Okay. Come on, let's make it easy on these old timers.
Okay, is there anybody else wishing to speak on this issue? And then we'll close the public hearing for that particular item, and we will have some discussion amongst the council. I have one question, and I need to be educated on this. Scott, you can help me. About a month or so back, I was in the city hall, and we had a conversation about beaver shingles water. And I don't think, are we allowed to accept those now?
Not right now, we're working with the part of the Hidden Meadows Ranch to try and see if we can get maybe a source there so that we can, but right now, we don't have an approved source or spot to put a well yet to accept those shares.
Got it.
Now, we have in the past done like a water agreement where we take the shares to Beaver Shingle Creek, and if we don't get that worked out, then they've got to turn in South Campus or Washington. But that's something we can talk about. But right now, we can't take Beaver Shingle
Okay.
Creek.
Mike, I have a question then for you. Does that impact your decision?
Well,
You
we're
still,
gonna have to do it anyways.
Okay.
We have the Beaver Shingle water shares. It's just how hard it's gonna be to get a hold of anything else. Or would you guys be willing to accept something like he was talking about until you get the Hidden Meadows figured out? It's all hearsay.
okay, well, that was my only concern, was that water issue.
So, you know, us approving this tonight would be with a caveat of whether we work this out, right? Because I know you've been, you know, I've spoken to you a couple of times about this. I am all for it. And we want it to end up, you know, being successful, so.
I don't know, I'm pretty hardline against development. I don't know if we're making this too easy for this developer or not. but- No, this is exactly what I'm interested in doing, passing on land to the people who grew up here and are gonna maintain the community that we've got. So, yeah, I hope we can accept the Beaver Shingle Creek. I mean, it comes down to what we can do, but if there's a way we can work that out, I think we should look at it, so. Yeah. Those are my thoughts.
I too am all for it. I would just love to be able to work that water issue out. I'd hate to see
Well,
them go through it and build a home and then still not be able to.
But we wouldn't be able to record the plat until we had something figured out on the water.
Right.
Some kind of agreement. And then we just have to go from there and see,
Okay.
you know, when he goes to pull the building permit, where he's at with the water and stuff like that.
Does the council feel like they would be in favor of an agreement to accept the Beaver Shingle Creek shares at this point?
I am 100%.
I would.
I have no issue. Yeah.
So it sounds like that would be.
Is this Beaver Shingle Creek well, Hidden Meadows stuff kind of came up a couple months ago with the moderate income, kind of one of those
Yeah,
compromise kind of a thing.
yeah, there is some ongoing discussions that need to be resolved on that, especially with the secondary water well, and how the state's gonna recognize that or how we're gonna resolve that. There's that issue. The one challenge that we have is I think the city does have more shares from South Campus and Washington than what we're using. Yes. It's in a roundabout way, but it's limited. So the challenge that we're gonna have is the policy first come, first serve until, I mean, at some point we'll have a diversion point for Beaver Shingle Creek, but we don't yet.
Yeah.
So,
One house isn't gonna affect it, but if this was a subdivision of
yeah, if this was a,
10 or 20, that's it.
then we would have issue, we'd have a problem. So it's not I mean, that extra water is there, but it's not a deep well.
Got it.
to go with.
Okay.
So no more subdividing.
Yeah.
I guess your sister and brothers
Well,
are just, that's all.
Until there's a diversion point
No more subdividing.
for in Hidden Meadows, until the well in Hidden Meadows is done and connected to the city system. So we're Scott, roughly, is that a $2.5 million cost?
Something like that, yeah.
That's pretty close, right?
That ballpark.
So do we need a motion on this tonight?
You need to close the public hearing first.
Well, they did close the
Oh, you
I did
did?
that.
Okay, all right.
Same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll take a motion.
Okay, that's what it requires is a motion.
Yeah, final plat approval.
I would be, the motion should be something on the lines of final plat approval conditioned upon working out the water issue and unacceptable loans.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the preliminary final plat of the Atkinson Acres under the condition of getting the water figured out as well as the bond issue.
I'll second that.
Okay, pass. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay. I lost my spot.
4B.
That's what I'm trying to get back. I lost the whole thing. What's something underneath that?
I think the next item is the building height and grade.
Code text amendment.
Code height, there we go.
Okay.
Gosh.
All right, so this is the actual amendment. I'll go through my staff report first. It's pretty simple. So you probably remember a month or two ago, we talked about this amendment. And you gave the direction to keep working on it, so we went to planning commission and they've had a chance to review it. Thanks. And now it's back to you. So the purpose of the amendment is to simplify the code regulating building height so that it's more straightforward for staff to determine whether structures meet the building height provisions, to allow commercial and city center zone properties on SR 32 or 35 to measure height from finished grade instead of natural grade, since many properties along the highway require significant filling to prevent structural water intrusion, to change the height exception for parapet walls from 18 inches to 10 feet, since parapet walls are often used to conceal mechanical equipment and elevator shafts, and an 18-inch parapet wall requires a safety railing. And finally, to eliminate redundant and conflicting codes. You'll see that the same code is repeated multiple times throughout different sections, so it's nice to just have it in one place. Then if we make a change, we don't have to worry about changing it 5 other times. Sometimes we'll miss one, so I prefer to simplify it that way. So the planning commission did review this item at their meeting last week on November 2nd. And they're forwarding it to the city council with a unanimous positive recommendation. So my recommendation is go through this amendment, we'll discuss it as we go through it, and then we have to open up a public hearing, and then we can take a motion, one of 3 motions. This is a legislative item, so it is up to the discretion of the council. So the 3 options are to approve, if you feel like this is going in the best interest of the city. That could even be approving, making some changes. You can deny it, if you just feel like it's not in the best interest of the city, or table it, we need more time to discuss it. So, let's look at the actual amendments. So the first one is to add a definition for finished grade, because we're adding this term later in our code. So the definition would say that finished grade means the average elevation of the ground abutting the building or structure at the exterior walls after completion of cutting and or filling. Okay, and then going down, I would take out a portion of the definition of natural grade, because this talks about the height measurement and not really natural grade. So it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't need to be in this part of the definition. And then I really don't like the definition of height that we have now. It's it was difficult for me when I look at building plans to see if people are meeting the building height. Because it depends, I have to decide which type of roof they have. There's several different types of roof, and sometimes it's not very clear. And then, depending on what type of roof, sometimes I can take a midpoint, so that makes it a little more confusing as well. So instead of trying to do this thing with the midpoint and deciding if it's a hip roof or whatever, I propose simplifying it to this. So height means the vertical distance from natural grade to the highest point of a flat or pitched roof. In the commercial C1 and city center CC zones, properties within 500 feet of SR 32 or 35 may measure height from finished grade to the highest point of a flat or pitched roof if finished grade is at or below the grade of the road at the edge of the asphalt. So it does add, I think you remember that chart I showed you a couple months ago. And I have different municipalities and how they measure height. This is similar to how Canvas does it in their commercial or their corridor. They kind of base it off of the highway. It's a little different in that we're saying it's finished grade, but we're tying it to the highway that they can't be higher than the highway. They have to be lower than the highway. They can build up a little bit because like the vet clinic didn't build up and they really should have. They had some major issues there. But, so they can build up a little bit and they can measure from finished grade, but that has to be below the edge of the asphalt on the road.
So they can't come in and put 15 foot above the road and then we measure from there. That's what you're trying to say.
Exactly, that's exactly it, Shannon. That's
Oh.
exactly it.
Don't put it in layman's terms for me.
I know, that's, you got it, see, you got it, we just got it a different way. That's exactly it though. All right, so looking at the next section, which is, it's part of the supplementary provisions on height. Again, I would take out the old way that we measured height. It's just the exact same wording that you saw before. I'm just gonna take that out. It doesn't belong here anyway. The height of any structure shall not exceed the maximum height of 32 feet in residential zones and 40 feet in all other zones unless an express exception to this code applies, nor exceed the recommendation of the South Summit Fire District. And that's it for that part. Now, nothing's changing there other than I'm just taking out a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be there in my opinion. And then we get into the exceptions to allow for attachments which are unoccupied and clearly accessory in nature. The following exceptions apply. Most of this will stay the same. So we have an exception for antennas, chimneys, those kind of things. Also water towers and mechanical equipment. And then the third one is where you start to see some amendments. Church spires, bell towers, clock towers, we're adding clock towers in. It's mentioned later in the commercial zone, but I would just like to have it all the exceptions in one place instead of in two different places. Cupolas, parapet walls would also be added there. And then instead of calling them features, I'm just calling them elements. Also taking out that would be part of the site plan review and final plan approval. For most commercial projects, we are not necessarily doing a final plan approval, but we would be doing a site plan approval. So just took out final plan approval. And under no circumstances shall be more than 50 feet above grade. I took out natural because now we have the finished grade for some people and natural grade for most of us, unless approved as part of a conditional use permit. So, for example, like probably a lot of you have heard about the Heber Temple and the approval process that that's gone through. What they were looking at is a conditional use permit, similar to like, we had a temple that wanted to build in Francis, we have to do the same thing. They want to be above 50 feet, so then we have to do a conditional use permit to make sure that that would be okay, that would work. So, it's the same process that Heber went through just recently. And then the last section that we'd be amending is the one in the commercial, C1. the zoning for the commercial zoning. Most of this would be taking out, listing all the architectural elements, because again, we've already listed it up here, so we don't need to repeat the exceptions twice.
Those exceptions apply to both residential and commercial, or just commercial.
In some cases, so like the antennas, chimney flues, vents, they apply to residential and commercial. Water towers and mechanical equipment is non-residential. Yeah, clock towers, and those other ones mentioned in the third, those are also non-residential. So only the first list of exceptions applies in residential zones. The other ones are all non-residential. So in the commercial zone, we would just say that buildings in the C1 zone shall not exceed 40 feet in height unless an express exception in section 18.15.100, the one we just went through, applies, nor exceed the recommendation of the South Summit Fire District. And that's it. So, that's it for me.
Okay, I understand a public hearing is required, so at this point, I'll open it up to anybody who wishes to speak for this item. Seeing no mad rush to the podium, I will then close the public hearing portion for this item and turn it over to any comments or concerns from the council.
Okay, so looking at this thing at the bottom, lower than this right here, chart. of
This one or the-
municipalities and
Oh, yeah.
what their measurements and stuff are.
Yeah, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, from the look of it, unless they're, just not worded quite the same, we already have the highest.
Yeah, there is a case here in Summit County where they can go up to 45 feet. And their NMU, that's some kind of mixed use zoning. Here, they're also allowed to go up to 50 feet. No case shall exceed 50 feet, so that's similar, that's Summit County. Park City has one where they can go up to 43.75. Let's see, there's another one, Oakley, they're allowed to go up to, in no case shall the building height exceed 50 feet, so that would be similar.
But is that like with special conditions and permits and all that other stuff?
I don't know, it's been a little bit since I looked at that code for Oakley, but I'm not sure. They do have an exception, it looks like it says 32 feet unless additional building height is required for commercial use. So it sounds like it's 32 feet for all non-commercial. And then commercial can go a little higher, but not any more than 50 feet.
With fire department approval, determined by the planning commission to be compatible with adjacent buildings and uses, right?
Yeah, so it looks like they go up to 50 in Oakley for commercial. But they have to make sure it's going to be compatible. Right, and our current height is 40, so
Right.
we're not really changing the,
So if we change any of this, does this affect this mixed use on the corner? Because I know we had them in a couple of times to change their building height.
so they already have site plan approval,
Right.
so they can build that building. They got that approved under the previous code, well, the one that's in place right now. So that would not change. Unless a new owner came in or something wanted to change the site plan, then it could.
So what we're trying to do too, though, is like if Camus is running off of 32, we're gonna be running off 35, basically the same way. Because if they're,
You're talking about the roads,
yeah,
not the feet, okay.
No.
I was like, wait a minute, we're already at 40, don't hold us.
Because that's where our commercial zones are,
right.
is between 32 and 35.
But like you were saying, it's whatever higher,
Yeah,
they're grade or the road. that's what we're measuring off of. So,
Yeah.
I have two other questions, right? So, are we doing this because of the hotel?
That is kind of how it got initiated, especially the part about the parapet walls, because
Right,
when they were asking me about it, they're like, it doesn't even make sense to have an 18-inch parapet wall, because then you have to have a railing up above it, because it's a safety issue. So that doesn't really,
And 18 inches really can't hide anything.
well,
right,
we,
18 inches isn't gonna hide an elevator shaft, which is
No.
what you would
Or
want
a
to
big
have.
air conditioning unit.
Yeah, and our code right now actually would allow them to have mechanical equipment up to 10 feet just sticking out. So I personally rather see a.
so what's
like a
height,
wall.
what's height mean? Is that just where you stand on the roof? You can stand at 40 feet, is that what we're saying?
So it's measured from, I guess, they get an additional 10 feet. So right now, if we do this change, then they can go from finished grade, as long as it's below the level of the road,
Right.
they can go up 40 feet to the top of the roof. And then they get an additional 10 feet above that.
So it's 50 feet, like, no problem.
But
Total
it's not,
height, right.
but you can't like live in
Max
it, like
without
can't put
any-
another.
Right,
You can't have another story up there.
That's not my concern. My concern is, you have a 50-foot tall wall.
Tall wall.
Now, that's the outside of the building, it's 50 feet. Like, oh, well, if you go over that edge, it's 10 feet down, that's our roof.
Mhm.
So that's what I don't like about it. It's like, I feel like we're already at 40, and now we're gonna give somebody an additional
But
10
if
without any, like,
I may be wrong, but if we're already at 40, and they just stop it right there at 40, they put their elevator shaft, they put their air conditioning unit, and then
You
that's,
can see all that.
you can see all that.
I
But if we let
understand.
them put a little fake wall that looks higher, but it's really
I understand what you're saying.
not higher,
I'm just saying I don't like it, but I get what you're saying.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pound it in your head
Right.
to make you like it. It's
It's
not gonna work. Okay.
So, I don't know. I don't like the grade stuff and all that, that's fine with me, but I don't know. It's just like, it just feels like we're like, yeah, go ahead, do whatever, go 50 feet. It's like, I don't see anything in the valley that's 40, 50 feet. And I just don't like being the, I don't know, the yes man. Yeah, go ahead, do whatever. We already got 700 homes, let's build as big as we can, let's do all this stuff. So, yeah, it bothers me. I understand what you're saying, though.
No, and I
You
get
don't
your.
want to just see the mechanical stuff
Yeah.
on top of a structure, but like, there's no provisions, there's no nothing. Like, these other guys, you can get up to 50 if you meet this and this and this, and we're just like, no, go ahead and do 50, as long as it's a parapet wall.
Well, in the, as part of the commercial code, it says that you can't exceed 40 feet unless an express exception applies, like one of those exception applies, and you also can't exceed the recommendation of the fire district.
Right, but that's still the top of the roof, right?
Yeah, so that's similar to what Oakley has. It's written a little different, but I think it's basically the same as Oakley's.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just sticking the mud.
I'm kind of on your side, Clayton. Just to make you feel better, but I am.
It's fine, I can be the one, I don't mind. I mean, I get it, we don't want to see a bunch of ugly stuff up there.
And how I'm getting it is, it's already approved, they can already put it there where they want it. It's in our code and everything. So if we change it to this, at least we're making it look pretty. You know what I mean, instead of,
Can we change the code to be, you can't put your stuff on top of the building over 40 feet? Like, build your building to 30 feet, and then build your 10-foot wall.
I would rather have all that stuff up there so the sound goes up and away rather than down here so it goes out to my neighbors. If you live right there, which you don't, but if you live right behind there and that big air conditioning unit is right there and it's coming out, you know, sound is gonna.
No, I know, I live in a very built up area.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, I'm just,
that
that's
wall,
why we're here, that's why
I
we're
know,
talking this out.
that's why I'm
So
asking, can we change the code so that they would have to build their building?
to 30 feet
To
and
30
then,
feet, if
and
they
then
want
give them an
10-foot
extra.
parapet wall to put their stuff up there.
That's a huge major change to change the overall commercial building height. I don't know, like, maybe Brad can answer this, but we already have an application, somebody that's interested in doing that.
We don't have a pending application, right?
No, nothing
So,
pending,
so
but
the legislature, or the legislative body, the city council can change the code of whatever it wants, right, as long as it's constitutional.
Right.
So is it lower building height constitutional? Yes. Is it I mean, proverbially, it'd be giving any commercial builder, or anybody that wanted anything higher than that, basically thanks but no thanks, don't come here. I mean,
That's kind
That's
of where
what I
I'm
would
coming
say.
at, where,
the hard part is that it's balancing what you're trying to do is balance the interest of keeping the rural feel of Francis and offsetting the future property tax increases, right? Commercial properties bring a lot more tax into it. They bring other things with that. There's no question about that. And they bring more people, they bring additional traffic, not additional enough to cause any road failures. It's defined by, engineering and road standards, but what you would be getting, if this doesn't approve, this allows, by doing this, you would be saying, look, we're not giving you the farm, but if a minor change to allow, instead of, we let you do an 18-inch parapet and now you can do 10 feet just to cover the whole thing. That's really the only thing you're doing with this. It's not, the rest of it is clean up, the rest of it is making it easier to understand, making it easier for our code enforcement officials, Katie, to enforce and to interpret. The rest of it is clean up. Katie's done a really good job with this. But I mean, the question is, I think the council, with their general plan and things that they're doing and updating right now, needs to address is, what does Francis want to be? Is Francis happy exactly as it is? But in doing so, you've got property owners that are aging. You've got some that want to sell to family members, like the Atkinsons tonight. You've got others that families don't want to, and there's the property rights for them to sell. And so I know a lot of times change is hard, but the thing is, change is coming. It's you as a council can help determine how that change happens, how quickly it happens, and how it happens, and where it happens. One of the examples of that I still think was a fantastic idea, there's some hiccups and some growing pains with it, was the conservation subdivision. Without having that option in there, Hart Ranch would have the whole thing developed, rather than just a portion of it and having a big chunk of it remain in rural, grazing land. Same as Stewart Ranches, that was a 100-acre, and they were trying to develop within the county, and they were well underway. And the council asked them not to develop in the county and had them do that annex in here, so that there would be this conservation subdivision and prevent that. And so I see that as a positive, rather than having spread out, 100 homes on 100 acres. You have fewer homes, or you actually have more, 130 homes, but you have half of that land is preserved as open space. So personally, I see that as kind of it's a balance, but it's also, I think it does more to preserve the rural feel than filling in the entire 100 acres.
Well, I understand a lot of people don't agree with what I think.
No, I'm not saying I agree or not. I'm not an elected
No,
official.
I understand that, but you're arguing a separate point, or the other side of the point, right?
What I'm trying to do is short-term versus long-term kind of ramifications of that kind of policy decision versus, sometimes you just can't control development.
I understand that,
Right.
but
So
everything I hear out there is way of life, too much, there's too much, too fast. And that's how I feel. So that's why I'm gonna argue the way I'm gonna argue,
Sure.
or I'm
No,
gonna
I
think the way I'm gonna
agree.
think.
I was arguing for the past 12 years, just exactly like you. I was the no girl. I said no to everything. It finally got through my thick head that it's gonna pass anyways, because I can't say no if it's already in the code to do it. So we might as well regulate it. I'm still a major no girl, but if we don't want a whole bunch more houses here, which I don't, I want Francis City to be like it was 20 years ago. He laughs like it's never gonna be like that, but that's how I want it to be.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna keep going and not raise our taxes outrageously, we need to get more commercial in here. And if we don't try to help them a little bit, like, hey, hide your
Yeah, I just,
crap
I
up here.
just want to do Park City East.
Yeah, I don't want that
Which-
either, and
which
I
is-
don't wanna be a suburb of, which Heber's coming
Right,
this
and
way.
both of those things feel like they're creeping in.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's why I sit here and I argue for maybe the harder road,
Yeah,
just because, you know, I want to explore different options. I don't want to just be like, oh, yeah. It's not that I disagree with anybody or the way they think, it's just, this is the way I think.
no, I totally understand you, because I've been there, and I'm halfway still.
But I'm
in the
under
know,
2 years, so I'm not born down yet.
It's taken me 12, so.
Okay, a couple of thoughts. One is, one of the goals, right now the planning commission has been working like all year on the general plan. And one of the goals that we're looking at is that we want the pace of commercial growth to be faster than the pace of residential growth for the next 5 years. We really need more.
I agree.
We need more commercial, not so much residential, we're good on that. So there's not much we can actually do to control that. One of the few things that we can do to attract commercial businesses that are looking at Camas itself, which is where they're already more centrally located, and to try to bring them out just a little bit down the road to Francis, is that we have a little bit higher height. So there have been several businesses I've talked to that have been looking at Francis just because we have a little bit higher height allowance. So they're at 35 feet, right now we're at 40. My other thought is, if you do want to change the commercial height, I don't think we want to do that in this meeting, because it's not really something we're considering before. I think that we want to go back to the planning commission and have them look at it, because that is a huge change.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just don't want to feel like I'm just like, oh, we need it so bad that I'll compromise the way I feel or the way I think.
No,
So if there is a compromise there, that's fine. I can't win 100% of the time. I'd like to. And I'll try to, but it's not gonna work.
and that's what we like about you, we like all
Oh,
that,
yeah,
sure,
sure.
fighting.
But, so, I don't know, it's just something I'm thinking about. That's really the thing that's bugging me the most about it. The grade thing, that's fine. I don't see any problem with that. It makes everything easier. It's just the height. I just feel like, and I get like, oh, we need the commercial. Sure, but does that mean we need every piece of commercial that comes into the valley? Like, oh, we need to do whatever it takes for us to get that commercial. I wouldn't like to feel that way. So that's where I'm thinking. I'd like to hear more from the right side of the table.
Yeah, we've been kind of monopolizing this.
I thought what's going on.
Well,
No, I would like to, if possible, dictate the commercial that comes in to the valley.
We do have a list of what types of commercial we allow.
Yeah.
So we have a list of all the different types. Storage facilities are no longer on that list. So we have made changes here and there, but yeah, we can say what commercial we do allow.
I just never thought a hotel would be on that list, you know, and so that's my, I think Clayton's hinted at that too, Harper. That's,
I get the tax benefit of that, because it is a transient tax, right? It's a good tax base to get, but it's like, are we selling out Francis City for tax money?
Well, if it doesn't come here, I feel pretty certain that it will go Camas or Oakley. So we're going to still have that impact, and you have to decide. In my opinion, do you want the money in Francis, or do you want Camas or Oakley?
well, Camas turned them down, right? That's why they came to us, that's what the guy told me.
The seller,
They-
the seller back
They wouldn't alter the height.
Well, and it was also the seller, the
Yeah.
land that they were looking at, he didn't want to sell it. At that time, he's still holding on to it.
But that was a concern with them, the height issue was.
He's also concerned about the height, yeah.
You know, we already had some issues trying to get some commercial over here with the height of the building. You know, they were, when they first came in, were they a little bit over 40 feet?
Yeah, I remember the one on the corner
42.
here.
The roof line was like
They had
42.
to make it work,
Yeah.
so. I think it's all just, you know, I agree you don't need to sell out, but, you know, do you want to get some commercial here? Or do you just want to keep it down the road and keep raising taxes and rents?
Well, with us keeping it down, I mean, he mentioned there was a smaller hotel, you know, smaller bed option. And we asked him about it, and he said, well, no, it's not gonna work here, it's gonna be the bigger bed option.
They have one in Morgan, you might have seen it off the highway. And that's, I remember talking to him, he said the height, because they have this cupola, I guess. The height's basically the same. It's not the same design, there's the two different designs. There's the one that's like they have in Morgan, and then this is like the downtown design, which I feel like actually fits more with what we're trying to do in the commercial zone. This would not approve the hotel in any way. We still have to go through the site plan, make sure the architecture is right, all of that. In my opinion, what this does is cleans up the code a lot, gives a little bit more flexibility on the corridors with height, since they have to build it up. And then, you know, the parapet walls too, and hiding the equipment.
But the good point is that it limits it to the commercial, right? I mean, you're
Yeah,
limited to the
absolutely.
32 and 35.
Commercial,
gotta be
Yeah, we're not
500
talking
feet of
residential, I can't go.
Yeah, you're not gonna be going over on Foothill and doing anything.
residential will be the same, actually a little shorter, because now we're not going from like the midpoint of the roof, it's just the top.
Yeah, Scott, in talking to the gentleman, I was worried about the developer on the corner because we did make him stay at 40. He changed his whole roof line, his architecture and everything. So, in your point, the hotel guy did say they had about a smaller bed, floor plan, or a cookie cutter type building. But the architecture of that one, we didn't feel would fit. Now, again, I don't think we should bend over backwards trying to meet their standard cookie cutter hotel. If they really want to adhere, they can adhere to us too. They can change their floor plans if they want. I'm completely, now, on this, we're not changing the fact that his roof line is going to be at 40 feet. That's holding true. All we're doing now is to agree to change the code to allow the 10-foot wall, parapet wall.
Yeah, it actually changes, even for commercial, changes the roof line a little bit, because before they can make an argument that, oh, it's a hip roof, so you can measure from the center of it.
Right. Well, but you fix that.
In some ways, it's bringing it down a little bit, and then.
And I, like Clayton and everybody else, I'm in complete agreement with the changes that you've made. My point, or my concern, is if the hotel comes in, we have two options. They can build it, their roof line would be 40 feet. They're gonna put, I thought, and I talked to the gentleman in our first meeting, the elevator doesn't necessarily have to be on the roof. They can put a hydraulic in, but with the water table, we have a big problem over there. So they can't put a basement in to put the equipment in for a hydraulic elevator. So do we let them build it 40 feet, keep them within our roof line? What's better for the city people? Are they looking at the ugly air conditioner? Are they looking at the ugly roof for the electric room for the elevator? Or do we allow this code change to let them put a decorative wall up 10 feet to where we kind of hide it? Which we're going to get grief, I think, from a lot of people in the city if a hotel does go in there. But I think we've got to try to minimize that. Do they look at the ugly equipment or do we let them hide it? That's where my thought process is.
Well, there's the third option, we make them build it lower.
Or we say, no, we don't allow
We have to change
this.
the whole code.
I understand that.
Oh, okay, I thought you
No,
thought right now.
I understand that part. I'm just saying, it's still an option. It might not be the most appealing option, but I just don't, okay, let's just build this, the tallest building in the valley, 50 feet. I don't care if it is next to the road, it's gonna kill me. I think it's gonna kill a lot of people in the valley, in Francis. And so I don't know.
I thought that too, Clayton, and looking at the chart, a lot of the other cities around, yeah, they have the
They can't go up to
variances and
50.
stuff, they can go up to 50, don't know if they have, I haven't driven it around and looked, but,
Well, and I'm just stuck on my personal preference, that's what it is. Nobody shows up really to make an argument one way or the other. Our public comments are usually empty.
no, that's
So,
fine, and you're,
no,
well,
I
you
either
think
go
you're
off
right.
what I feel or what I see on Facebook or whatever, even though that's not really where I like to get my information. But this is why I'm obstinate on it, I guess, just because this is a line in the sand for me, kind of.
We did have a public comment on this item in planning commission that was positive on it. He said that it's actually Riley, he said he works for Park City Fire District. He likes the parapet wall because it's safer to have that. Otherwise, it would be a hazard to have just 18 inches. That was the public comment.
18 inches rather.
Yeah, he said
Oh,
he
okay.
liked
Yes, that's,
having a higher parapet wall. Just was his comment. I hate to summarize it, but he did, there was one public comment from on this item.
no, you're good.
That was Riley that was in here?
I guess we are now tasked with one of the three options, correct, Katie?
That's right.
I guess, have we talked about this? Everybody expressed their thoughts and concerns. Are we to that point? Everybody feel comfortable with looking at the three options?
Yeah.
Okay. First one, we approve it, as it is in the best interest of the city. We can deny it as the best interest of the city, or we can table it.
You can also approve it and make any changes that you feel like you need to.
Yeah,
If there's-
Well, I think the biggest point of contention is the 10-foot parapet wall. I don't know that there's,
That's what I have an issue with.
that's,
The grade
Yeah.
stuff is fine.
all the great stuff, I don't have an issue with. And Clayton, I agree with you. I do have a heartburn about the 10 feet too, but
No, yeah, I understand.
my personal heartburn is to the detriment of the city though. See, that's where I'm at. A hotel, motel, whatever it is, it would not be my first choice either for commercial, but if it's available to us and it's gonna get built, it's gonna keep us from raising property taxes in the future.
Is it for sure gonna be built
No,
No, there is no as I know it right now, there is no 100% guarantee.
no, they don't even own the property, they're just under contract right now. I don't even know if they're under contract yet, actually.
And I know the gentleman in the meeting I was in with him, he was really stressing and bringing up the charts and everything, with incentives to help. But now that that's a moot point, because the legislature won't allow us to do that, I don't know if that's going to impact their mindset. I don't know if they're going to say, well, it's not worth it now.
I did meet with him last week and talked to him. Brad was gonna write a letter explaining that we can't offer incentives in the law there. And he said once he has that,
Yeah, he's gonna present it to his group, and he was appreciative that we were, what did he say? We put in the effort to figure out what our options were. So, he felt that as a positive thing, that we were looking, so I don't know what's gonna happen, right? He asked the other thing that he asked that we look at is what options we have of waiving impact fees. And as I looked into that, since we talked, was that Monday or Tuesday? It was Monday. Anyway, I looked at that since our meeting, to address that. And the only exception in the code, in the state code, is when you have moderate income housing component. You can't, so it's all tied to the same thing.
So we really can't do
We
it.
can't
do
that.
So there's not an incentive that we're able to get.
Right.
So,
Well, the city could waive the impact fees if they paid them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
last
we
thing we need
would,
to
we would
do.
have to pay them.
well,
Well, we don't want to do that.
I agree, I actually,
But that is an option.
have you seen that recently?
Was that?
I
Have you
don't
seen that
know.
done recently?
I think that's what goes under what Brad was just talking
If the city
about.
pays the impact fees, the impact fees.
How-
Then they're paid, so we're not
Do
really
we
making.
pay them out of the general fund?
It's not in the budget.
It's not, this doesn't waive the impact fees at all. You actually have to physically pay.
But that's still an incentive that's not tied to moderate
Yeah,
income
that's
housing.
that's
So I think
prohibited
that's against the law.
unless it's tied to a moderate income housing.
So we can't do it, we can't do the incentive.
Either way, it just depends on which fund you're impacting.
Exactly.
Okay,
Just build it and start paying taxes, that's what we need.
do we have,
Can we chop this up or no?
sure.
Like it has to go all as one, or can we chop it up?
We can make some changes, if you do decide to take out the parapet wall from the list of exceptions, then maybe look at where that was originally in the code and keep it there, at least at the 18 inches. It's up to you, but that's one option that I would look at.
Are you interested, just after hearing Riley's comment about the 18 inches for safety,
Well, I'm on the fire department too, I know exactly what he's talking about.
is maybe not 10 feet, but maybe putting it up at 5 feet or something like that? Is that,
It'd make me feel better to lose
But-
5 feet, 45 instead of 50, but
but that's still their elevator shaft or
No,
something like
yeah.
that, you know, thing. But the 5 feet would make it safer for,
well, what's rail height supposed to be?
That's 3 feet in the
I think
code.
it's like
I think
36.
36, I think is code,
Something like that.
building code.
And I understand the point of it. I mean, they didn't come to us for safety reasons. They came to us because they want to put all the stuff on the top of the building and cover it.
Well, one other thing I've been thinking about sitting here, the elevator equipment is going to be in a building of its own, built on top of the roof.
Right.
It's not, you're not gonna see big pulleys, you're not gonna have the electrical equipment. It's gonna have a structure around it. So it's not gonna be too obtrusive. I think we would have control over, that it wasn't just a square, T111 type building structure around it with the code, but.
I mean, they're not
So
sure.
you could lower the 10-foot wall. Elevator equipment would still be hidden. I just don't know how about the aluminum air conditioning and all that.
Right.
So.
Well, that might come into a compromise on architecture, right? Like, hey, you can build your elevator room.
Yeah.
Like, that's, of course you're gonna need that, but then like,
I think 5-6 foot, in my experience and my estimation, would be enough to cover air conditioning. But it will not cover. You're gonna be probably an 8-foot wall plus a peaked roof for the elevator equipment.
Yeah.
so that brings into question is if that's a peaked roof on top of an elevator room, is that really at the top of the roof? Or is it not because nobody's
It's unoccupied.
Yeah.
The,
unoccupied?
the exception is unoccupied.
Yeah.
Well,
we're already allowed
on a normal basis.
Up to 10 more.
It will be occupied while the mechanics in there with it,
Right.
but that's,
Yeah.
very intermittent.
So we already allow the mechanical equipment, it's just whether or not
Correct.
you want to cover that.
Well, I'm fine passing everything but that. I would rather table that part, the 10-foot wall. Because I 100% agree with the other stuff. That would be my preference. But I'm one of four, so.
No, that's not a bad point. If Katie helped me on this, can we approve everything, pull out the 10-foot, table the 10-foot? And if, I don't know if this is gonna help us, if and when the hotel came in, could we discuss it with them to see what their actual height of the elevator building and or the air conditioning equipment? And Well, how much work would that be to amend their permit to allow to do like a 5 or 6 foot parapet wall?
But then it's gonna feel like we're tailoring the code to one project.
Yeah, that's what
Well,
I
you're
said.
absolutely right.
I
We
think
would
we
be,
should just
right? We
take
would be
care of it
doing
right
that.
now for everybody.
It'd be a case by case basis. And that makes it harder on staff, Katie and everybody else.
So the 18-inch thing came into the definition of height back in the original, what we have right now. It said, in no case shall a mansard roof or the parapet wall of a flat roof extend more than 18 inches above the deck line or maximum zone height, whichever is lower. So we probably need to keep something in there like that, but I don't know where you pull it out or put it.
Okay.
If you wanted to take out the parapet wall thing, I don't know.
One other thought that I have, just as an observation of having done this for a while, this particular kind of code and text amendment doesn't rise to the level of raising any issues for the public. As you can see, nobody showed up for this. Right. Tax issues, tax increases, you'll have the whole room full out the door, screaming, I mean, pitchforks and torches is how I've seen it at times. That was my first experience in raising taxes as a council member. We had 365 residents show up. So anyway, just an observation. If this were a big issue for the public, it'd probably be here, is my observation. But anyway.
Well, it's an issue for me.
Right, no, I get it.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of bigger issues that less people have showed up to, though.
Well, I have the same criticism. I don't understand why people can't take 2 hours out of their month. But they have plenty of time the rest of their life to complain about it all day long, every day. So I really don't understand why that happens, but it does. So with that being the case, that's where I come in and I vote my mind. And that's, yeah, I think I've stated exactly how I feel about it. So
You have.
that would be my preference, is I don't have a problem passing the grade stuff. The extra 10 feet, that bothers me, and that's pretty much the only thing that does bother me.
To clarify, is it just the parapet wall in 10 feet?
What do you mean?
So so if it were a clock tower, that's 50 feet, there's no concerns there?
No, because it's not like a solid wall, right? So I guess that is what bothers me. I just don't want to see like the tallest building in Canada. Yep.
So somebody is gonna drive by and they're gonna look at that and they're gonna think, oh, that's an extra 10 feet. They're not gonna know it's a fake wall. Is that what you're concerned? I mean,
Well,
it's not that we're gonna write on there, this is fake, it's really not.
I already don't like the 40 feet,
I don't-
but that's where it is, right?
Okay,
Without us changing.
yeah.
Like, that to me,
Maybe I could ask some clarifying questions. Is it just the 10 feet extra, or is it the 10 feet blank wall? I mean, if they put some architectural features on it, it's not
no,
just a
it's
blank wall?
the height.
It's the
period.
height.
It's the
Okay,
height.
all right, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's the skyline, the roof line, whatever. 50 feet up in the air, that's what bothers me.
Does it change? So one of the ways, oftentimes, some of the concerns that come up with that, and I'm just asking for clarification if I understand. So typically, when you have a taller building, there's a bigger setback that comes with those, so that the impact and blocking of light and things like that from neighboring property owners doesn't impact them as much, unless it's a part of an overall larger development, like like where Food Town is or something like that. They really take that into consideration. But there's, if there's residential nearby, it would usually require a bigger, and Katie could clarify this, a bigger setback from the property line, so there's a bigger buffer, so you don't have this, when the sun comes up, my property's in shade all day long because of this monster building. So is that part of the concern, or that doesn't matter, it's just the size of the biggest building in the valley?
Well, that would be a concern, but it's really the size of the biggest building in the valley that bugs me. That just eats at me.
Got it.
But yeah, if there was a house next to it, that would be a more valid concern than just what bugs me. I mean, that's what I'm arguing, what bugs me. That's what it comes down to. but, I understand the tax and I understand all that stuff.
No, I'm not suggesting you don't, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah.
Get to the, you
No,
mentioned.
this is Clayton's
blank
personal
wall.
preference, that's what
Sure.
it comes down to.
Sure.
You guys will just wanna keep hearing me talk, or what?
Well, no, I'm trying to figure out what we should.
Yeah, Katie, I'm with Clayton, everything else looks great, appreciate your work, I just not sure on the height one yet.
And if you guys want, we can, table this,
Well-
revisit it next month.
Kind of what correct me if I'm wrong, I think if I can make a motion and we go to approve it, I don't think it's gonna get approved. So I think that's a moot point at this time. I think,
Yeah, without Jeremy here to be the
Tiebreaker.
the
So,
tiebreaker,
I don't,
Yeah, 2-2 vote would be a failure.
yeah, that'd be a failure, so. I think then, can I make a motion as the mayor pro tem?
Yeah.
Because I know Jeremy
You
can't.
can,
Okay, I'll make a motion that we table this item, until we have a full council present.
I'll second that.
Okay, vote.
I,
Aye. Okay. Now, moving on then. So now we're going to the, just approval of potential action items. First one is a water conservation and landscaping ordinance.
Yeah, so remember we talked about this one last month, and we didn't have the ordinance. I don't wanna go through the whole thing again, because we went through it last month. I don't remember any changes to it, but I don't want the words in your mouth, but we do have the ordinance now. So we can discuss it if we need to, but,
Quick refresher, it's just the one that allows for residents to qualify for the water rights grants for modifying the landscape.
it makes the water restrictions permanent. So you have we'll have the same schedule that we have now permanently.
okay,
And then new development, their front yards have to be less than 50% lawn. And then we can't have park strips.
Right.
Those were the main ones.
Remember. Okay, you okay with that? Any discussions? Okay. Make a motion to approve.
I will make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-08.
Second?
That's correct.
I'll second.
Shana?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Mayor is absent, so it's been approved. So we'll let him sign that when he comes back. The next one, fleet lease resolution.
I can take that one, Sam.
Okay,
So this is the bank that the city has used in the past, the brokers used in the past with the leasing of the city vehicles and the Mini X or the Mini X, proposed Mini X. Changed, the brokers got better terms from somebody else. So this is what the new bank is requiring. It's just that they want this council to identify who's authorized to sign the agreements. And this just allows the mayor to sign the agreement. So it's already budgeted. There's not an impact on the budget. It's just simply telling the bank that the mayor can sign the contract.
so it's like in the old days, go and sign a signature card.
Well, I mean, there is a lease, right, that he has to sign, but they just
Oh.
they want the whole council's, consent
Consent that-
that it's the mayor. And so when they say, we got this little paper that said that the mayor could sign, and the mayor signed it. So that's all it is.
All right,
A motion to pass resolution number 2023-09.
I'll second that.
vote.
Is it a roll call?
Yeah, roll call.
I,
I'm sorry, putting that in here.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next one is moderate income housing.
It's your favorite topic.
That's gonna be.
Okay, so last time we were here, I mean, it was 2 times ago.
That was last, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
we had a
ago.
work session.
That's right, work session, the extra one. So 2 weeks ago, the direction we got from the council is to come back with 3 different options or different options for the 3 different projects. So there was different ones, different kind of states of each of them. We're gonna deal with Stewart Ranches first. So Stewart Ranches, we have what's called the moderate income agreement. This is the only thing that they're waiting on for the council to approve. I've gone through this. This is a good agreement. It requires deed restrictions. We went back and negotiated a couple of terms on this. One of them being, so they asked if we could have an 8% annual escalator in the price. So they're gonna start, and we don't know what the term is gonna be, but it has to meet. We're waiting for them to come back with this. So the approval tonight would be conditioned on having an acceptable initial starting point listing price for the units that are deed restricted. And then, I think that's the only other condition. What we have in here, I was able to negotiate down the number here. So they had proposed an 8% annual escalator. As I looked over kind of historically over the last 30 years, that is a really high appreciation number at 8%. Over the last 5, it's low. So anyway, we came to an agreement that they would accept 6% instead of 8. So that's significant. It's not ideal, but it gets us one resolved, we can move on. And so what we're asking is that the council approve this agreement with the condition and directs, and mayor's the one that would sign this, right? That authorizes the mayor to sign it with the condition that an acceptable initial starting price is entered into the agreement and that it's at 6%. Those are the two conditions that we're asking that you approve this. And this is, again, this will put 7 of those townhomes in Stewart Ranches as deed restricted moderate income housing for 30 years.
Okay.
Which meets with several of the goals of the conservation subdivision and several of the goals that the council had at the time that was passed to find a way to reduce the cost of housing so that long-term residents' children can afford to buy a home here.
It also goes to certain classes of,
That's a good point.
yeah, bring that up.
Yeah, so these are kind of critical workforce kind of targeted housing. Part of this agreement, they're required to advertise this to like teachers, firefighters, police officers, active military, things along those lines before they can go to just anybody. And they have to do it for, if I remember, it was 90 days.
That sounds right.
That's my recollection, is they had to advertise it for 90 days before, to those targeted groups. And this is, I mean, I think, didn't we talk last time that there was a teacher that bought a home in Payson and was leaving the school because could not find anything here? Had this product been available, he likely would qualify for this.
Just a little late.
It's just, yeah, it was a little late.
Okay, I do remember this discussion. Do we need any further? Do you have any comments, council?
And then we can get to the medicine.
Yeah, so let's
the
take care of
medicine for
Stewart's
the-
first.
Yeah, let's do Stewart first, and then we can talk about the medicine for
Meadows.
Hidden Meadows and Park Crossing.
So can you just help me understand the 6% a little bit better? Does that mean like every year, whoever's selling the house can charge 6% more
And
than
what they pay for.
Every year.
Just what they pay for it. So if the market, I think right now we're at like 11%, I think, from last year. There's some number like that. Over the last like 3 years, it's higher than that. It's like 15 or 16%. So if somebody that qualifies for this, let's say it's a high school teacher qualifies for this, buys it, they buy it for $400,000. If they have to live in it for a year, and then after that, they can sell it for $424,000.
Okay.
Is all. They can only go up 6% per year.
So,
Even if the market goes 30%, they're stuck
Right.
at 6.
yeah, if, with that caveat, right, that you have to figure out what that price is.
The initial price is, yes. That meets our definitions as they are now, the 80 to 120, 81 to 120 of the.
When does that kick on? Like, is there a way that they would like, oh, we're not gonna build these for 10 years and then we can.
No, it's so
So-
contract, you have 1 year, and then you start getting that 6%.
Yeah, and my understanding is, So Doug Anderson is the developer of Stewart Ranches. This has not been recorded yet. This is the only item left for the approval to get recorded. So they're gonna record right away, and my understanding is the buyer is buying this phase is ready to go.
Yeah, I heard from a
They're-
representative today that they're gonna start this in the spring, planning on.
Yeah, the
it.
one
So
that-
get going.
But they can say that and then sit on it.
Well, they only have 1 year for that price, so we set the initial sale price based on the number of bedrooms and
Yeah.
looking at the information from Summit County that they've given us, we set the sales price, the initial sales price. They get 1 year to sell at that price, after that, it starts going up. Is that the 6%, and you just, from the initial sales price?
So from completion, yeah.
But if they decide I'd rather have another 18%, I'm just gonna wait 3 years to build these, is that the way it's?
I guess technically you could, but this particular builder doesn't buy stuff to hold.
I was gonna say, I know Doug Anderson, and he's gonna get them sold and built, and
Yeah, this
I
is,
can't stand.
this particular builder comes in, does them all at once, and then moves on.
But there's nothing legal making them do that, it's just kinda like, oh, this has been our past experience. I just wanna understand
I
it.
feel like we had it in there, we were talking about the initial sales price, where they couldn't just sit on that forever.
Yeah, they can't just sit on it, and so that's why there is an initial sales price. So the initial sales price sets the floor. I don't anticipate, I understand the concern, but I don't anticipate that being an issue.
We get 12 months after the effective date.
Does it seem like that's what's been happening, right? We approved something 20 years ago, and they
Yeah.
decided, well, it's not.
Well, so, see, and that's one of the interesting things, we've modified the code since then, so we can't have we can't have another runaway ranches again. We modified the code since then, we can't have
Or
a,
behind me,
the
it's.
Tifton Hills, we can't have that again.
Yeah,
So if people get approvals and they don't record and don't put any substantial investment into it, their approvals lapse after 1 year.
Yeah, that's why we have that expiration. We kind of talked about extending those before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why we make them come back.
what we talked about, we granted we renewed them after a year, right? And we talked briefly about a fee more than $100, just giving an incentive to make sure it gets done instead of just $100 every when they kick it down the road.
Yeah.
Did we get anywhere with that?
So next year, one of the big things that's on my to-do list is to, no, that's part of it, but really, to kind of go through all of the code and update it. There's a whole bunch of legislative changes we're gonna make. We're gonna do a big code update and simplify it, and kind of some of the stuff we were trying to do with the height, we're gonna do it on a lot of the code. Part of that I was just saving for that was extending the expiration from 1 year to 2 years. So once we make it more reasonable and say they get 2 years from final plat when those record, then I think that's a good time to look at the fee rate ordinance and increase the penalty for not meeting that 2 years.
Or even making it a hard and fast expiration.
Yeah, although then that kind of makes it more painful for us, because then we have to go through the approval process again, sometimes for the same exact thing.
Sure, anyway, something to talk about.
Yeah, something like that.
There is item 8 in here that says time is of the essence. It says time is of the essence in the performance of all obligations of this agreement.
yeah, number 8.
Voyeuries.
Yeah, was that neat?
Okay, time of essence is they need to be able to show and document that they're actively pursuing meeting an obligation.
Are we gonna go through individually and approve these or all three?
We can go individually.
I think individually, because the other two are different
Yeah.
from this one. So this is just authorizing, I mean, the motion would be authorizing the mayor to enter into this contract, subject to the, getting an agreeable, initial price and, adjusting that from 8 to 6%.
I can remember all that.
You can just say so moved.
So,
Yeah, so moved. I second it. John?
I,
Aye.
Whoa.
what?
Just what Brad said.
You
So
catch all that? We so moved what Brad said.
So the motion.
You can ask me afterwards and I'll tell you what it was.
We just passed that all down to that table.
Okay. That's a big one. And you seconded it, Sam?
Yes, ma'am. So if Brad goes to jail, I go with him.
I wanna go with him, I need a rest.
Okay.
You need to lay off.
Okay. I just about went today, so.
Next one, sir. Brad, you.
Next one, okay, so let's talk about Hart Crossing first.
And I didn't see that in my job.
So there's nothing in Hart,
nothing.
no, this is
Okay,
just the
all right, then I
proposal, the
understand.
options, so there's not anything there.
Okay.
So Katie and I met, we talked about this, it's similar to that, at the end of our discussion, the work session, we talked about medicine, everybody takes their medicine, nobody likes it, but you move on. So our suggestion on that one is, there's two options and we want to get the council's feeling on this. There's already stuff built, there's already an issue with what the contract was, there is a defense in the contract that we talked about last time that may or may not prove out in court, but anyway, with that understanding, the idea was, we either let Rusty do kind of what he proposed to do that interest rate thing, or come back and say, okay, 10% of your units have to be deed restricted, once you build
The townhomes.
the townhomes.
Just gonna be how many?
So that would be two, because you round up 1.6 to
And then he can just sell them.
Of the two that are already done.
Well,
two. No.
the other ones he can sell at market rate.
The ones he hasn't sold yet, two would have to be deed restricted.
And I believe we can get Rusty to do that. It would likely lower the price on those, and then deed restrict those two. So we have to work from, or allow him to do the other one, or do the other option that he proposed, and,
Yeah, so he wanted to do the interest rate thing.
yeah.
We talked about this, and there's some issues with that, where it depends on what type of loan the person's getting, conventional or FHA. Then if they have an all cash offer, then that doesn't help us at all. It doesn't change the sales price at all.
Right, doesn't change.
So, and then Rusty did say he's willing to do up to 6 of those, but it's not set in stone that we're gonna get what we say we're gonna get, so I personally like deed restriction better,
I think the deed restriction long-term
but it's really,
has a bigger impact than the initial sale with a minor interest rate buy-down.
But then anybody can buy that.
Yeah,
Is that interest rate buy down? So
yeah, but the deed restriction, you've got, for 30 years, you've got two units in there. And the reason we're proposing 2 or 10%, which you have to round up because there's 16, right? 10% is pretty much the standard across the state in large developments for moderate income housing, especially when we talk about those incentives and options for incentives. That's what you're seeing in Wasatch Front, even in Summit County. You're seeing 10% on the development in a CRA, CDA, redevelopment agency project. You're getting 10% of the units are deed restricted, low, moderate income housing. That's not low income housing, it's moderate income housing. And so that's why we're proposing 2 of those be deed restricted. That gets us closer to our goal. It's consistent with many other cities, and it resolves something going forward. So that's what we would propose to the council. Either one of those options, whichever one the option the council likes, that's what we would propose. And similarly with Hidden Meadows, Rusty's already applied. Has he already applied for that, or has he just done
he
some
has
engineering?
preliminary approval, but he still has to come back for final plan approval for the whole thing.
Right, so we're waiting on the development agreement. But anyway, he suggested maybe he'll just pull the whole townhome thing out. And if the goal is to have some moderate income housing, right? And if I
Is that
remember,
in
Hidden Meadows.
Hidden we're talking?
Yes,
Not-
now we're moving to Hidden, sorry. And what we can do, and there's two parts to this for Hidden Meadows because it's not already done and the contract's already signed. There was amending the code so that instead of all the townhomes being a deed restricted, 10% of them are. It's a little bit more reasonable with respect to what the market's doing and with respect to what other cities are doing. It's comparable to that. And I think it's still doable. And so if I remember right, Rusty had 36 townhomes. The other one was
4 there.
48. Okay, so it would be 5. So you get 5 deed restricted ones there in modifying that. And he wouldn't be required to do it.
You can choose.
We could modify the code, and if he doesn't like the 5 deed restricted, he doesn't get the townhome bonus density, he takes it
You
out.
just say to town.
That's fine.
Just let him make that
He
decision.
makes the decision.
Yeah.
But in order to, as Katie and I talked, in order to preserve the goals of having some moderate income housing, some impact on those, on the cost of housing, the only thing we could come up with that made any sense was the deed restriction, keeping that in place. And that's the medicine that we're proposing, that we modify that. So it's, there's still, if the developer wants to do it, they're doing it, then there is a benefit to at least 10% of those units.
Yeah,
And
so
there's the 30-year deed restriction.
it's kind of all the same option. Part's a little different, but really across the board, we're saying, let's do what we're seeing
10%.
most other communities do, which is 10%.
And it's treating them the same, the 3 different
Mhm.
projects. It does have an impact. I know there's been some discussion on whether or not you like the townhome product or not, or hate it. I understand that. But they are cheaper to build and they are comparable. I mean, it's hard to say, well, I live in a single family home and I bought it at X, 6 years ago, 3 years ago, and now a townhome costs more than what I paid for 3 years ago. So that's a tough comparison to really digest. I get that. Some of these townhomes are going for more than I paid for my house. And again, I bought it 3 years ago. We were in a different world 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, another option on the code is just to take out townhomes from the
Altogether.
conservation subdivision altogether.
But it's, as we talked about that,
Yeah, that's
as
not
the
meeting the
council,
goal of it.
that doesn't meet the goal of having some moderate income component, some impact on the cost of housing. And so that was kind of our thoughts. We're happy to do whatever the council decides, but that's kind of where we think that's the best way to, if the council's goal is to have some moderate income housing, the best way is to get the deed restriction back in. Not the money that we missed.
Did we talk about last time what that would actually be, the price? Like
600.
So it really depends, it depends on the number of bedrooms.
Yeah.
So a 3-bedroom at 81% AMI, so the lowest would be like 368, and the highest for a 3-bedroom would be 569. For a
These
4
numbers are about 6 months old,
They
so
are about 6
we would
months
probably
old.
have to get those updated,
We will
so
get them updated.
it might be different, but probably won't be very different.
4-bedroom goes from 396 to 614.
And the moderate, like the 81 to 1.8, that's set, like, we don't have an
So
option
It's
to
pretty standard.
lower that, because here's what I'm thinking, I get the deed restriction.
So that's a legal definition of moderate income.
Right,
So if you went lower than that, you'd be moving to lower.
We'd have to like do a new definition.
And make it lower.
I mean, we could do that, but I don't think but they're not bound. The only one that could possibly impact is, it wouldn't impact Hart, and it wouldn't impact Stewart, because when they got their approval.
right.
Even in Meadows.
And actually, it wouldn't impact Hidden Meadows either, unless they consented to it, because we're just,
I'm just trying to think of a teacher buying a $600,000 house.
Well, if you have a dual income, yeah, I don't know.
Even
That's
then,
a
I
lot,
think it'd
that
be tough.
is a lot, yeah.
Because if that, that would be my goal, right? Those types of people. If that means low income, that doesn't sound good to anybody. We like to hear low income because bad thoughts come to your mind, right? But, like,
I think we're all low income at one point.
yeah.
I'm there, I don't feel bad.
Still low income, mostly.
Well, if I thought of low income housing, I think, oh, crime, all that other
Projects,
stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, obviously that's what we're looking for, but like you're saying, with home prices, I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way for us to do what our goal is. My goal is teachers, police officers, firefighters, and I know they don't make enough.
It still may put it out of reach,
Yeah,
but it gets us closer.
right, which I agree with.
Yeah.
And the 10%, standards is directed at moderate income.
What's the percentage of Stewart at what that proposal is?
They're at 7 out of 27.
23,
So that's a
7
way
out of
better.
20, it's a big, it
that's
is.
a lot.
That's
But they were, but
They were-
they have to, they were required to do all of it.
Right.
That's about 30%.
Right.
So that is higher.
So, maybe this is a jerk thing to do, but can we raise that up on Rusty a little bit, say, hey, Stewart's our benchmark, we're gonna give you 20% instead of 30?
It's up to the council.
Yeah, 10% came from what we see as reasonable across other communities, but Katie suggested 25%. So somewhere between 10 and 25% was what Katie and I discussed.
Well, I get the deed restricted thing, but if it's 10%, that feels like we're taking a way bigger dose of medicine than need. So we can go 20, I feel better about that personally.
And would you
Well,
want to apply that to Hart, Hidden Meadows, and the code?
Yeah, but, you know.
Okay, so we can go back, so again, we're not asking for approval on that, we're asking for the council's
Record, yeah.
for Hart.
I, two, when you said two at the beginning, yeah, okay, I can live with that, but I would like to see more.
Yeah.
Because again, my intent is to have more of those units available to the city people. So if we could do
20%.
20%, that'd make 4 of
4 and 10, right? If he
them.
stays.
4 out of the 16.
Yeah, but then 10 in Hidden Meadows, if he built what he's got planned.
Yeah.
I think he'll probably just pull it out of Hidden Meadows, is my opinion of the rest.
Well, he probably would, but
But we
he
need
would
to
agree
keep it.
to Hart.
Yeah, he's agreed to Hart, and so we
He may.
need to do that.
Well, Hart, we'll have to go back and say this is what the council wants to do is 20, and then how would that look? We do an amendment to the agreement, to the DA development agreement.
Mhm.
Okay, so help me understand.
I would like to see 4 units personally
Yeah. and
And
that would be-
in Hart's Crossing.
So 1.16 times.
So help me understand
That's
the deed
3.2.
restriction.
So do we always round up, or do
Yeah.
we only round in
Always
some
round up.
cases?
Yeah, always round up to meet
Always
the-
up,
to meet
so
the
we're
minimum,
for-
because if you're 3, you're below the
So a
minimum.
minimum of, yeah, we'll have to make sure we use the right.
So that's the same as 25%.
So help me
Well,
understand the
and
deed.
here's the other,
Okay,
you know, this is just a thought, and I don't know if the council likes this, I could do. We've got Rusty already building something, right? And they're
he's already
different
got 2
projects.
done.
No, I know, we've already different projects, but
Duplexes.
the other possibility is maybe if it's the same partnership group, they're involved, commit to build more in Hart, or in Hidden Meadows, and only have 2 in Hart Crossing. I mean,
Oh, maybe.
then you're solving
Yeah,
that problem, but you're not
I
creating.
hate to delay it anymore, though. Because he'll push it off, and you let him.
Oh, I mean, with this.
So what, okay,
Well, but you get them under contract.
He could easily do 4 more.
okay, explain deed restricted to me.
For both parties.
If it's deed restricted
Mhm.
and he can't sell it, like,
It's like. when
there's
you have
still too much money, are they just gonna sit there and vacate, he can't ever,
It's just the same kind of contract that we just talked about with stewards,
Yeah,
where
we would make a revised or create a revision to, or a separate contract,
Similar to
using this as
Okay.
a model, yeah.
okay. I mean, 'cause I don't want him sitting there vacant either, just because he.
And this will also get the moderate income housing off your agenda for the foreseeable future.
So if we, my thoughts last time were hold him to his original thing in Hart and just let him do no moderate income housing, no townhomes or anything in Hidden Meadows. What are the, I guess the.
So by amending the code to say it's 20%, right? Rusty with Hidden Meadows can just remove the townhome component altogether and replace it with single-family homes, and it will be lower density. And you have single-family homes, they'll have a higher price point for all those single-family homes than you would for the, but there wouldn't be any moderate income component at all with the,
Do we hate that? Like hold them to Hart
Well-
Crossing being the moderate income housing place, townhomes and Hidden Meadows is their own thing. Would he do that if he takes a hit, his original agreement?
So this is getting into, can we talk about this either offline or in closed session?
I would just say,
I think so.
I think it's best to let him make that decision. If we change our code to say it has to be 20% deed restricted, he'll have to look at the subdivision and say, is that gonna be worth it to me? Do I wanna keep the townhomes, or do I just take them out completely? I would like him to make that decision if we're gonna change our code.
Well, and the thing with the deed restriction, I feel like it gives us more of what we want, because if he's just offering points, right, because he's gonna sell them lower, he can sell it to whoever he wants.
Yeah.
But the deed restrictions, like, no, you have to sell to a teacher, you have to sell to a fireman, or at least open that up for a certain amount of time
Exactly, just
to
like
those people, so they get in line first, which is, I think, the goal of the thing, so.
That's a good point. The specified groups is in Stewart Ranch.
Yeah,
Can we include that language
We would.
for hidden, yes.
for Hidden Meadows?
If they.
Not for
Hard
new.
Ranch, yeah, Hard Ranch is a little harder because we've already got agreements in place.
We have to amend the
We would have to
agreement,
amend the agreements anyway.
but we could say they have to sign a moderate income housing contract that's gonna be just like a steward's.
Yeah,
Okay, I like that.
And then you might not want to sell 10 deed restricted homes and Hidden Meadows, and you pull them all anyway.
He might, but I think we should let him make that decision.
I think we should.
But at least if we can get these 4 deed restricted out of Hard Ranch,
At least we have 4,
right?
better than
well,
Well,
you'll have the 7.
11.
Right.
Yeah, we have
7-Eleven.
4 to 7.
11. Okay.
Okay,
Sounds like we got that. taken.
so we want to give the staff a direction then to write up a resolution for that.
So.
Well, what we would do
Based on
is, we would prepare an amendment to the code to put 20% of those townhome bonus units
Okay.
would be deed restricted moderate income and make that very express, right? But it would reduce it from all down to 20%,
Okay.
right? So we do that, that's one, and then we would prepare
Drafts of modifications for Hart on their EA development agreement, and then prepare moderate income housing agreement for Hidden Meadows. Present it to Rusty both at the same time and say, here, this is what we can
Okay.
help solve the problem, and everybody's taking some best.
Okay.
To use Clay's term.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, we have to make a.
You don't have to make a vote on that, you just say yes.
Oh,
that's
no,
what
we
we'd like
did
to
Stewart
do.
Ranch,
That's what we
I'm
like
sorry.
to do.
We already did the one.
Yeah,
on
we
Stewart,
did
yeah,
Stewart
so
Ranch.
we're good on that.
Okay,
So we can move on to D.
so now we're moving on to this fine gentleman looking for the wreaths across America. Sorry,
Still sleeping, I'm
Wake
sorry,
up,
I
wake
can't
up,
get up
Nicholas,
now.
Wake up.
I'm sorry, I'm not too good at this, I should have moved you up.
Well, thank you, council members and employees for inviting me back to continue discussion we started last month. And there's been significant progress since that time. I wanted to come back and report to you and tell you what's happened. Everybody was here except Shan wasn't here, so I'll just give you a little bit of a refresher and mostly to bring you up to date. I am a representative of an organization now that I was not a member of before. It's called the Wreaths Across America, and Wreaths Across America is a volunteer organization located throughout the United States. Volunteers get together for 3 purposes. That's their mission, is threefold. First is to remember veterans. The second is to honor current members of the military. And the third is to teach those who may not understand these values to help them to understand what they are. On my trip last year I told you about, I bumped into several different cemeteries where wreaths have been laid on veterans' graves, and I didn't know what it was. I began to research it and I found out that this organization is about 30 years old. And last year they presented 2.5 million wreaths to veterans' graves throughout the United States. Many of them were in military cemeteries, but most of them were just in public cemeteries, just like our own right here. I came home and I was so impressed with this organization. I said, we need to know about this back where I live, and we need to support this. So I immediately went to Joe Fraser, who I think was here last time, and talking with the Summit County historian would like to, the county would like to support it through the historian's office, and he said, yes, we would. And so we kind of divided the county into the 3 parts that it falls into: Park City, North Summit, South Summit. I said, I'll take care of South Summit, and we'll let you take care of the rest of it. And I had a couple of built-in advantages that he didn't have, so I'm making a lot more progress than he's making up to that other one. But this is a long-term goal. This is not just a one-shot deal. So
next year, we'll have, hopefully, the whole county will be involved, include Park City, North Summit, and South Summit. So what it boils down to is, we have that three-pronged mission of remember, honor, and teach. But the most visible part of that occurs on the third Saturday in December, when they place wreaths, veteran wreaths, on graves throughout the nation. It's all done simultaneously, same day, same time, not same time, but simultaneously on the third Saturday in December. So my goal when I came back here was to see if we could get not just a relevant rudimentary beginning to this thing, but really kind of get some kind of a critical mass going this year that really launches into next year. And I'll tell you, it has been well received by everybody I've talked to. It's been a very successful event, supported by many people. One of the first calls I made was to the South Summit Cemetery District, because of the 6 cemeteries that are in our district, 3 are in incorporated cities, as you probably know, which you are one, and 3 are in unincorporated areas. And so the South Summit Cemetery Board is basically taking over responsibilities of all of them. My request to them was that they would provide wreaths for a ceremony that was to be conducted at the cemetery. The wreaths would be, in my mind here, there are 8 wreaths, each representing a various branch of the service. They would be sort of put out in a horseshoe shape. In front of that, there's a much larger wreath, like a 32-inch wreath, something like that, that would put up there that would sort of be the centerpiece. The centerpiece wreath will have 8 flags in it, each for each of the branches of the service. That also includes Merchant Marine, Coast Guard, and POW MIAs. And they agreed to do that in the unincorporated areas of the county. So I've gone to each of the cities now, and I'm asking the city councils if they will support putting those wreaths at a ceremonial display in the city cemetery there. My original thought was to have 8 ceremonies going on, or excuse me, 6 ceremonies at all the cemeteries. That turned out to be way overreach on my part. That can't happen. There's way too many moving parts of that to make it happen. So what we'll do is have basically 2 ceremonies. One will occur at 11 o'clock up here at the Francis Cemetery. The other one will be at 1 o'clock at the Marion Cemetery. All of the wreaths will be fire. I'm sure with the fire department, but I'm getting an attentive nod that they will bring the wreaths in on a fire truck with 2 members of the fire department. The truck, one would be hopefully in some kind of a dress uniform, the other would be more in the turnouts, so that they can split that. We're also working with Jeremy to get police escort to sheriff's deputies to come on escorts for the wreaths. They would come in and deliver the wreaths to the cemetery, where we would then have a group of youth, Boy Scouts, football team, whoever it's going to be, then transport the wreaths up to where the ceremony will be, which will be at the point where the veterans' named memorial plates are in the cemeteries. We will ask if veterans from the group that's there come to them to go up and represent each one of the 8 as much as possible as they cover. The 8 wreaths are back there. The youth will bring this to them. They will then place the wreath on the appropriate easel for display. I have requested from the high school here that they will have a bugler. They can take caps. We then got a member of the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers that will read the names of the veterans who are interred in that cemetery. And then they will, families can buy the wreaths, or other sponsors who are not part of the family can buy wreaths. We will then ask you to come up, and for any of these wreaths that are out there that have not been, well, first, families would come up, take wreaths that they've purchased. Second, youth would come up and take wreaths that have not been purchased for specific. And if there's anything left over, then other members from the audience, you have to come up and take wreaths and take them to Veterans Cemetery. We're not gonna have enough wreaths for all veterans, so, it'll just sort of be, however, whoever takes the wreath, whatever they personally want to take it to, they can do. Apparently there's a QR code at the cemetery that you can look at a person's name and it'll give you a little walking map to, get there. So anybody that takes a wreath can just look on the memorial plaque over there, see a veteran that they may want to do it to, they may know or not, and then, get the little walking map and go over there and decorate the grave. No, not a great ceremony to decorate the grave. We ask that it be done with dignity. The wreath placed on the grave, stand back for a moment, say the name aloud, and then retire from that. And that would be it. The whole ceremony, the whole program should only take, I'm hoping 30 minutes. It might be really cold on the 16th day of December, so I'm trying to streamline this thing as much as possible. It's great if you're in Baton Rouge, but in campus, it may not work so well on the 16th of December. But anyway, so why do I come here? I would like to ask the city council to do some things to help us with this program this year. And I have here a little list of what I would like to ask you to do. And I've got a handout here. Oops. And here it is on the floor. That one. I don't know what happened with the stick. There you go. And then, oops. The program as outlined that we're going to do is basically, I've shown that to you there on the thing. But what I'm asking the city council to do is, first of all, purchase some wreaths for display. What my request is for the 8 wreaths that would go in a horseshoe. They cost $17 each. The ceremonial wreath that is larger, that would say in front of that comes with the 8 flags on it. I'm asking you to, I suggested that you may want to have at least that large ceremonial wreath right here inside the building as a remembrance of veterans, so that throughout the Christmas season, they can have the opportunity to recognize them. I would like to ask that any of you that have people in the cemeteries that have veterans there, especially with you, also to support this by sponsoring a wreath yourself. And I would like to ask you to support this program by coming to the ceremony. It'll be at 11 o'clock on December 16th, and I would love to have you there. And the last thing I need is, it would be very nice if someone from this city would act as the dignitary to kind of get that show running out there and kind of take responsibility for going through the agenda items that are going to happen on the ceremony. So that's my request. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think we had some issue connecting, since we last spoke, but yeah, I wanted to do that.
You're willing to do that?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Your name is Chris?
Clint.
Clint, I'm sorry. Wonderful. We can talk a little bit more about just what that entails, but thank you so very much. I think it's fabulous that you're willing to do that.
I think this is absolutely wonderful, and I would definitely buy a couple of wreaths. But my dad and uncle are both buried in Marion. Could they go to the Marion one instead of Francis?
Okay.
Okay. I can't be there. I'll be delivering your mail.
Take the day out and go over to Marion.
I would much rather do that.
By the way, the Marion program will be at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
They will, the wreaths for the south end of the valley will come here on the fire truck at the 11 o'clock ceremony. The 1 o'clock ceremony will be at Marion, and they will take the wreaths for the northern part of the valley.
Perfect. Okay.
Any other questions of exactly what, when I say exactly, that's a little bit of a stretch, because a lot of this is still in my head.
No, this is great. I commend you. This is amazing.
Tomorrow I'm attending a seminary, or an assembly at school, and I will be asking you to get involved, because, the third leg of our mission is to teach. And to me, that's the most critical part of things. I love honoring the veterans. And I think the most important thing is to somehow transfer that knowledge to our younger people.
As you can see, Jeremy's not here, but the last meeting, we discussed, afterwards, we're definitely interested, we'll buy the lease. And, we just have to talk to Miss Suzanne over there as to what budget we're gonna pull that
Oh, okay.
out of, but.
The orders have to be in by November 28th. I can submit at any time, but that's the cutoff date. And any time before that would be much appreciated, because they get pretty busy around cutoff date time.
Okay.
So the sooner that you can do that, the better.
And do we have a location a way to get hold of you, to get you the
Yeah, just call me.
cash?
Yeah,
Check.
yeah, you make the check to Reeds Across America. And let's see, oh, wait a minute, I have here,
I think you gave us
Oh,
a
here.
form last time,
I'm sorry?
I think you gave us a form last time, that had the.
Oh, I did?
I did, yeah, last time. Well, here's excuse me, before you do. Okay, the large ceremonial wreath is $52. That comes with the 8 flags. The small wreaths,
Was that me?
Probably it's not.
No, we got it. The home.
oh, okay. And I would like to ask you to buy a small flag, because I'm gonna have these, and I need easels. So that's one thing you're gonna have to do, is figure out how we're gonna display these 8 ceremonial wreaths. And we don't have easels for them, and I don't think we wanna lay them on the ground. And so I don't know exactly how to deal with that. We've got the same problem in all the cemeteries, so we will have to find an answer.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
The easels, they have them for funerals. all the
Yeah, I
time.
was thinking the
Just,
same thing, just call.
In a funeral home or whoever handles those, they usually have things like that, you might be able to borrow just for the afternoon.
No, I was
Just
thinking,
I
call
was thinking
them.
of one of, it's on Mirror Lake Highway. I know, Grant, is that where it is?
Yeah, I think so.
Crandall Funeral Home. We can talk to them.
He's out of Evanston, you know.
Sure. Yeah, the cemetery district has, said that they will buy easels for the F3.
Oh, and they.
They're gonna buy them so that they can use them year after year after year after year.
Okay, you can probably tell you.
So, you might even have easels right in here that can be, I don't know what you've got here, but that's one of the problems we're gonna have to deal with. But anyway, the order form is here, it's not an order form, but it's the cost form.
I know I just had the last 7 digits, you're a 435 number and 801 number.
Both.
Both of them?
Yeah, my cell phone. I have my home phone forwarded to my cell phone, so no matter which one you call, I get it on
So
my
the
cell.
783 will be a 435 Clint,
What's that? Okay.
down here.
So is it 435-783-2439?
Yeah, that's my home phone.
435?
That
Okay.
gets forwarded to my cell phone.
Is your cell phone 901-599-7154?
Yeah. There are about 400 veterans in all of the cemeteries, and there are approximately, I went and counted your memorial plaque up there, there's roughly 100 up here, just a little under 100 at the Francis Cemetery. So that would that and Marion are the 2 biggest cemeteries by far.
Perfect, we look forward to helping with this, this will be awesome.
It is, it's gonna be fabulous, let me tell you, I've done a lot of volunteering in my life, but I've never had a thing where people have said, count me in, I wanna be there. So it's gonna be the Lone Ranger, aren't you gonna help me? Okay, questions?
Great.
Will you give me a call then, and let me know, are you the one who's gonna write the check, or?
I'll write it.
Yeah.
You'll write it.
I will sign it.
Clint will probably be the one to reach out, or Jerry, or one of us from the county will reach out.
Okay, so you'll be the one to call me and let me know when the guy off, I'm gonna check it.
Correct.
Okay. That sounds great. Would you give me your telephone number, please?
Say it over the microphone.
Yeah. Oh, you have something that's going on.
It's being recorded.
Speak loudly.
Next.
Little Summers.
You can come in and turn it off.
So 801-350-1471.
Your wife says.
Great. Thank you so very much.
Wife says, I can reorder.
Yeah.
I'll try to get it to you.
Bye now.
Bye, Anna, thank you. We had another one for the neighbor. Karen.
Okay, moving on. Next item is a fee and rate ordinance discussion. Turn this-
Oh, yeah, you wanna talk about that one, because I'm really not sure what that one. This is one we talked about a couple of months ago, and I told you I'd send you a copy of the community.
Yeah.
And we're gonna look at it and see what fees you wanted to come up with.
Okay.
And besides
You-
that one, we also, on the water, we have to come up when people disconnect their water for 3 months, when we reconnect it. And the fee we charge for that is $25 for one and 50 for the other. Canvas is 100 each time. We talked with Jeremy about it just a little bit the other day. I think he thought 100 for Canvas is. You should be consistent.
So why did we disconnect it for 3 months? Are they snowbirds?
Because we have
all
some
the way?
people like Crystal up here,
Yeah,
she's only here during summer,
okay,
so we have to turn it off and then we have to turn it back on.
so it doesn't freeze and mess your
Yeah.
pipes and stuff.
And then they're not paying for 3 months of not being here.
So if it's only 3 months, the water bill's what, $30?
Yeah. I know.
They should,
So we're charging them $100.
It's usually more than
What's
3 months.
Canvas's water bill?
It's usually a little bit more than 3 months.
Yeah.
Like 6. So it's usually they shut it off in October, November, then it'll get turned back on.
But it's the cost
March
of
or April.
time and,
Right, and it should be $100, I agree, but if it's just 3 months, I just made the, keep paying my water bill for 3
well,
months.
that's why I said we need 3 months, so we have to change it.
It says 3 months in there?
I think that ours has one of them, but I can't remember if none of ours are brick canvases.
Okay, and this is, let me make sure I have it in my head correct. This is just up for discussion tonight?
Yes,
Okay, good. Because
yeah,
I have to admit, I looked at it today for the very first time. I've been out of town all week. So I need
yeah,
time.
no, I didn't do an ordinance or anything.
Okay.
I just told you guys I would send you a copy of it and then look at it and see. The rates on the building and,
You could certainly take it under advisement and say, let's kind of bring it back on the next agenda as well. And
Yeah.
Let's discuss those more in detail. Or that you can discuss it tonight too, either way.
Yeah.
Or both.
and I sent you copies of Canvas's fee and rate and Oakley's on their buildings.
Well, again, I apologize. I just was out of town and I did not take this with me. So I would prefer, I'd like to make a recommendation, we just table it for tonight and just bring it back next month's agenda
That's fine.
for further discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay,
We have to do that.
I think so. I was waiting.
If it's an official motion, right?
Aye.
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 Okay, this next item scares the bejeebers
daylight
out
having it.
Yeah.
of me. What are we discussing Frontier Days for?
But this was the whole big Jeremy thing.
Oh,
We kind of discussed in the office, we need to be more on the ball. We need to have everything like done, planned, so in July when the parades start, you can start handing out your flyer and everything's already organized and ready to go and not last minute.
okay.
Was kind of what he did, isn't that what he basically discussed in the office, Katie? That's what I
She's
remember.
grinning.
I'm gonna get a drink here.
Oh.
Drying up. Yeah, I wasn't really involved in that conversation, but I I didn't hear parts of it, it sounded like he wants to be ready to go and have a good plan in July, of what we're gonna be doing.
Okay, then on that note,
And if you want to do a committee or how you want to do things.
we discussed that a little bit last year.
Mhm.
Okay, Jeremy leading
Okay,
the troops on that, should we table that until next month as well when he's here?
we probably should, but just, I'm gonna say this right now so you guys can help me remember next month. So I was on the committee for the Camas Fiesta Days because of my queens, because they do both here and there. And they have a meeting once a month, we're still having it, about their Camas Valley Fiesta Days. And I have to report, okay, these are my girls and this is what we're willing to do. And then they say, okay, we need them to do this, we need them to go up here to hike with the girl up there hiking. And so I think we should have a committee like that and have a meeting once a month, every month until it gets here. I mean, it doesn't take long. And one time we met at the DeJoria Center, one time we met and ate dinner, it's like just a fun time to talk and keep us all included. And I also have a Jessica Crystal, she wants to do a hike like she does for Camas, and she'll do everything on it, but she wants to have that on her thing, and she'll take the ladies or men or whoever wants to hike up in the mountains with them, but she wants to do that for those 3 days also.
Okay, my only concern, and we talked about having committees this past year,
Uh-huh.
but, with the people involved, we ended up with more than 2, either planning commission or council people. Does that not constitute a meeting then, that we have to have records and all of that? If we do a committee, 1 or 2 of us from the council could be on that committee at the same time.
Yeah,
But if we have a third, now we get into the area that we have to have everybody here.
yeah, we just, with the Camas one, it was no city councilman. They just put people in charge.
Okay,
And so,
that would be great.
like, one could show
if
up
we
and
had
then they could
people in-
report to us,
if we
but
had
it
people in
wasn't the
Francis-
city council, it was,
Like Oakley and Canvas, I think, have their own separate committees, and there's usually one council member that is kind of with the committee that reports back from the committee.
okay, that's probably,
Camas just has a guy that he's running the show, he comes and talks to the county, he reports to the city council, and he's probably running.
yeah, it's Stephen, what's his last name now?
Yeah, Steve.
If we
Yeah,
could
just
get,
Steve.
if we could get volunteers to come in and we could appoint them to committees, that'd
Yeah.
be great, but
Yeah, but I
If
mean,
we
if we
are
start
the
working
ones-
on it now, that would be,
So like Oakley, that's what they do, they just have one person on the council that kind of works with the committees, but then each member on the committee is over something.
yeah, like,
But
like
the
the
people-
parade,
but
the
the
parade,
people that are
the,
running those committees are residents of Camas.
not really, I
Or
was in Francis and I was on there, so,
No, I agree, but,
yeah.
okay,
I mean, we
Can we
can't
get-
have them all from Francis if we have been better, but.
well, that's fine.
But
Again,
Jessica, she's in Camas and she'll do our hike thing and she comes to every one of the Camas ones, so. Whoever wants to help us, we're
So
getting,
that's what you can do, is figure your schedule out, what you
Yeah.
want to do.
getting all that stuff on there. But yeah, let's wait and talk about that with Jeremy.
Huh?
Ready for next month.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, but again, like I say, Jeremy is running that,
Yeah,
driving that bus, so let's, table that until next month as well.
Yeah.
When, we have a full council.
perfect.
Can I get a motion?
Yeah. Oh, do we need to table it? Let's table the Frontier Days discussion till Jeremy's here next month.
I'll second that.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
I'm gonna take one of those paid days off next month, see then.
What?
I'm gonna take one of those paid days off next month.
What paid days?
The one you called me about today.
No, my colleagues tell you you can't have paid days. I know you two are scheming, but.
What are you talking about?
okay, moving on to council
I have
business.
to worry about you two.
You should point to these two out. I did not know Jeremy wasn't gonna be here, so I have no council reports. Anybody on the council want to bring anything up? Okay, moving on, Ms. Katie.
All right, so November 28th, we have a meeting to talk about your property. It's gonna start at 5:30. So that's the one that got rescheduled. Sarah, remember you called me?
Yeah, I know, but I'm just trying to think, I may be going. That's why I was from. Oh, no,
What time did you say, 6:30?
5:30 in Camas or here? It'll be in Camas.
Their city, they go.
I think so. It might be at the Rec Center, but probably at their city hall. I'll let you know for sure. I'll remind you.
Okay.
A little before.
Yeah, please send us a text. Okay.
Oh, that's Tuesday after Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Okay, it looks like we're gonna get about $108,000 for our parks from the Recreation Arts and Parks grant. So that's great. Suzanne sent you some emails about some different training opportunities, and I think they'd be really good. You can get to them. There's lots of different options. There's even an online option. So check your emails.
I signed up for the one that's Zoom. I got a confirming response. It's me and the teacher.
You and the teacher, there'll be more. And if it's just you and the teacher, you'll just learn so much. So
That's the one, like, the beginning of November, the Zoom meeting. I signed up today, and they responded that, the attendees list they sent out was me and the teacher.
okay, yeah, so there's that one that's on Tuesday about how to run a meeting and the Open Public Meetings Act. And then there's a couple in December that is the elected official crash course, one in person in Salt Lake on December 9th and one online December 16th. But I've been through some of those trainings and they're really good. So I highly recommend it. That's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Scott.
All right, the 1,000 East water line is we got one fire hydrant to connect. But it's all new lines installed, all the homes are on the new line, the old line's abandoned. We're gonna pave the road next year. We're gonna pave the crossings, put a temporary patch on this year, but they'll be paving next year. They did some of the widening, digging out the edges of the road this year, but that'll be finished up next year, just due to the weather. The tank, they got the tank filled. We're getting ready to do a leak test the first week to see how old they gotta fill up some little leaking holes and stuff that happened, so we gotta fill those up, so we can do that. But we're gonna have a CBG public hearing tonight, we'll have it next month. So.
I saw something, and this doesn't make sense to me, but maybe that the city's pumps put too much pressure through and busted somebody's seal, like, is that a real thing, or is that?
Yeah,
Is that a real thing?
we had, last Friday, the sewer lift station, Howland Road Sewer Lift Station was acting up again. So me and Dylan were on our way to meet with the guy that pulled pumps to get them resolved. While that happened, a homeowner called and said there was a water main break in Wild Willow. And we didn't find a water main break. What we found was the line going into his house had broke. And because Dylan said he was dealing with sewer pumps, somehow his plumber said that it had to have been the Francis City pumps that called a pressure surge in our water system to make his water line break.
No.
It's all gravity fed.
It's all gravity fed, and that's why I tried to explain to the homeowner that our water line is all fed from gravity, and the sewer pumps are for sewer, not water. And he still thinks that, I got a phone with him when he hung up on me.
Oh, no.
He was sure that it was our fault and our pumps that caused the problem. Even though I tried to explain to him that they were sewer pumps and not water pumps.
That makes sense to me.
So yes, and I explained to him that the water line from the water meter to his house is his. He thought that was our responsibility. And he was very upset that Dylan, took too long, he thought, to find his water meter because it was under a tree, and Dylan's never read the water meters. We don't read water meters anymore, we drive by. But he thought it was ridiculous that we didn't know where his water meter was, and I asked him, I said, do you know where your water meter is? Knowing that he didn't. And he accused me of calling him I can't remember. Homeowner, because I asked him about that. So,
Okay.
so he was upset about that, but, you know, we got there, we found his water meter. It's actually under some pine tree branches, the kind of pine tree, it's started to cover the water meter. But we found it, got it shut off. But I heard there was quite the thing on Facebook, so.
Yeah, that just didn't make sense to me, so I was just like,
Yeah,
let me see if there's actually something I don't know about going on, but, okay.
that's what it was.
Yeah, all that sounds kosher to me.
It was a fun morning.
But he's not appeased though. He's still.
I don't know, he talked to Jeremy said it's all good. We'll see if we get,
A lawsuit.
an insurance claim. So, which I would think our insurance would just deny it. Because it's on their side of the water meter, as they should.
Okay, next item is the mayor's report, and he's not here. So I have no, look, I drove from Montana to get here today, so I have nothing to report, other than the fact that that's a boring drive.
Great job.
I think he was gonna talk about like whether or not we're gonna do a Christmas party. I don't know if you want to talk about it or we pass it on to him.
Well, I have done some research. I was gonna talk to him tonight about it off record, but, I researched the place we did last year. The Sterling Steakhouse, you giggle, you didn't like that?
It was fine.
Dude, I got a
I
carrot
love it.
cake waiting for you with your name on it.
I love to do this.
But, and I've talked to them, I tentatively right now, we have the room reserved for the 8th of December. But he sent me, as he put it, his Bible of his options for parties and stuff. I was gonna go talk to him about that, to see, because some of it's a little overboard, some of it I don't think we really need. I just see if we can pare it down. However, it is, I've talked with Suzanne, we have our discretionary budget, the money that's left, we will definitely eat up what's left for the Christmas party there. Okay, now,
But you're still buying wreaths, so if you buy wreaths, that will make it even less.
right. And it gets us to the party, but then we've got to go from now till June 30th before we get our new budget. So we've beaten up that discretionary budget.
So, are there cheaper options that we?
I did check Billy Blanco's. Their policy is we can rent the room down below. I don't know if you've been down in there. They've got a pretty good sized banquet room down there. But they have, their menu is a little bit limited. They have all of the fajitas, chicken, beef, shrimp available. The chips and cheese is an hors d'oeuvre. They have burritos, pretty set menu. But they have a $2,000 minimum.
Yeah.
Now, and they charge us per head. Well, I calculated 35 people. Everybody going, and I did include you, Brad, you're plus one, so you're in there. We don't get, even with the drinks, which would be sodas and water, okay, not alcohol.
Oh, come on.
We're only at about $1,400.
So it sounds like you don't get alcohol, so you get the 2,000.
Well, no. Scott, that's exactly what I said, and I got hit too. Patty would no. So obviously the city cannot pay for, there is a host bar and then a non-host bar. Okay. But I didn't want to get into the area of alcoholic drinks, so we would really have to buy a whole lot of sodas and a whole lot of water to eat up that $400.
$600.
Well, $600, yeah. So that wasn't viable. Bill White owns Billy Blanco's, he owns about 7. Pat and I went to the Italian restaurant in town where's the the steakhouse? Oh, man, I forgot.
Kimball Junction.
Kimball Junction, okay. Around the corner, down around the corner, he owns an Italian restaurant by Stone.
Oh,
Cold
right,
Stone.
Stone.
Yeah, Cold Stone, right?
Uh-huh.
We went in there, pricing was pretty up there, we're gonna spend a lot of money.
So Taco Bell it is then.
It's McDonald's, Taco Bell, Del Taco.
They
So-
don't play.
That's what I've been able to find so far. Now, Patty mentioned Hearth and Hill. There's a restaurant
Thinking food truck.
food truck. Now, Jeremy, and talking to Jeremy, he had an idea that he was on that note, was not so much a food truck, but it's the barbecue guy. He's got a portable barbecue. And he was talking about having it here, outside.
No luscious.
No, one Luscious, it's out of,
Some that's over at
Marion.
the county fair.
it's it's in Colville, I'm sorry.
Pascal.
I don't know.
Okay.
But he did also mention that he didn't want it to be a big to-do for the staff and extra work and stuff, so if we had a barbecue type thing here, we would have to set chairs and tables and everything else, so. I was going to mention it or discuss it with Jeremy tonight, but obviously he's not here. So I was I'm open to suggestions.
Me,
Patty and I have been
myself, and I
tested.
am not a very fancy person.
Right.
I don't mind.
Now that's just,
It was really nice,
Little much.
but it's a little much for my taste, but I'm just a
that's
cowgirl.
kind of what,
They could eat a burger
It's
and
very
I ride a
expensive.
horse
It's-
down the road.
it would be over $3,000.
I think a Nerlick Diner would be fine with me. We could have that back room. But that's just me. If you guys are all up for a big fancy Christmas,
No,
whatever, then I'm there too. There is another one in Heber, in that Spring Creek, right in the middle. And I don't know if they do parties or
you mean
not.
Roadhouse,
No,
that steakhouse there?
on the way to Midway. Isn't that called
Oh,
Spring
you
Creek?
go over and go ahead towards Midway?
You know where the rodeo arena is? It's right across from there, kind of. as you're
Because we
going down to the-
did call the steakhouse as well.
Okay.
The only thing
This
they
is like an
have
Italian or
is
whatever,
the
but I don't know.
outside
Oh, by
yurt thing on their patio.
By the Ackerson eye doctor, yeah.
And
I know what it is.
if you don't have enough people to fill it, they're gonna fill it
Oh, okay.
with our party.
And I don't know if that's, like, we ate there once or twice, I didn't pay attention to the price, because it was just me and Brian, so it didn't matter, but that's my opinion, I don't care if it's fancy, I don't care if it's the new Oakley Diner, I mean, whatever, if we wanna give them a shot, if they even do parties, I don't know.
We didn't have room.
I don't know, I
I think they have a banquet room downstairs, don't they?
well, they opened up
Downstairs.
they opened a coffee,
You
no,
can go foot around it or something.
I thought I read
pastry
something
thing downstairs.
Lily won, she can eat there once a week, so she won a year's worth of 2 dinners for every, yeah.
Wow.
She could take each of us one time.
We're open to suggestions if you want me to keep looking, monetarily. What,
Yeah, I don't think we should spend
I
all the
think-
money.
I was going to actually reach out tomorrow and send, Jackson is the kid that owns Sterling Steakhouse. I was gonna send him an email, have him take us off the list off the 8th. I didn't want to keep reserving.
Yeah, let's do
What
that.
was the final price on that?
Well, again, it depended on our options as to what
Okay.
we wanted. I thought, because I did talk to him personally and told him who I was and what we did last year. What he sent me was different than what John and Suzanne and everybody picked. But he said he would work with us and do that. But I checked with Suzanne, we spent over $3,000 last year. And that's about, we think we spent like 3,300 or 3,400 last year.
Billy Blanco would be 2.
A minimum of 2.
Which we think it'd be 2.
Well, it would be 2, because that's their minimum.
That's it,
Right,
that's
because
it.
we're coming in low.
We're lower
Yeah.
than their 2, but that's what it would cost us.
And then we talked about maybe not doing the dinner like we did before, we do a lunch, council and staff, or jackets, or I don't know, there's a lot of options.
I'm, Friday and I are more than happy to go out and eat and try these places for you. But it's getting a little expensive on my part.
Expensive to the city.
Yeah. All right, Scott, thanks.
Research,
What do I do with that?
research, discretionary fund.
Yeah.
She's not paying attention.
No, she is. She's heard
She's
it.
ignoring.
Okay, I think we're
She's ignoring, not.
done. I can reach out to Jeremy tomorrow and see, what he wants to do. Continue with restaurants, other options, if you wanna go. I'm with Sean here, I don't have to go to,
I will say it is nice to go out with my wife though and kind of mingle.
I would like to be able to do that, to have us all in an environment to where we can, talk and mingle and not talk shop.
Right.
But I don't wanna have to spend $3,500 to do it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have to get a, $28 filet steak.
Well, that's the thing, nobody sits down to eat with me willingly, so if we can afford people to be there, that'll work.
Maybe you just have to go and experiment and try this comes out.
Well, I'm gonna have to cancel your slice of carrot cake with your name on it.
Okay,
Okay,
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Aye.
Aye.